Holy City Center Radio is episode 304, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Today is Monday, October 21st, 2024. Just 10 days away from Halloween. I can't believe it's almost the end of October already. I don't have a costume. It's probably too late at this point. Not that I have any plans to go to a party or trick-or-treating or anything. But yeah, I guess I'm not dressing up again this year. But I hope you have had an amazing weekend, I should say, and have a great week ahead of you. And if you're doing Halloween stuff in 10 days, or maybe you have kids who are, I hope everyone's got their costumes, everyone's happy, and spooky season is going well. Today's show, nice and easy one. No doom and gloom news or anything. This is an interview episode, and it's a good one. It's actually a returning guest, but she's here for a completely different reason this time. That is Linda Walder. Now, if that name sounds familiar, you may remember way back in July of this year, I believe it was the 17th, she was on episode 275. If you want to go back and listen to that, you can. When she was here, for that particular interview, she was talking about her inaugural poetry collection called Running Naked in the Snow, which was published by Marcus Amaker's free verse poetry brand. And so she was here to talk about that. It was a very nice interview. But this time she's here because she, as you'll hear her say, she's wearing a different hat. And this is really incredible. You know, anybody who has anything to do with nonprofits, it's always fascinating to hear their story. How they came to create a nonprofit, what led to that is always interesting. The type of work that they're doing, what their future goals are. And Linda's done an amazing job as the founder and CEO of the Daniel Jordan Fiddle Foundation. And putting aside the fact that it's the nation's first not-for-profit organization to exclusively focus on adult autism. So it's always amazing when a nonprofit is the first of its kind. You're going to learn how she just had to build this from the ground up. As impressive as that is, the work that she's been able to do by getting, endowment funds in all sorts of universities across the country, including here in Charleston at MUSC. The work that they're doing is really fascinating, and they've made a lot of strides, and they're focusing on all sorts of different aspects of, helping adults with autism and their family members, caretakers, whatever it may be. So it's a really good interview. I hope you enjoy it. There is a link in the show notes where you can learn more about this foundation, support them, and just, or like I said, or just learn more about it. Linda and her volunteers with that organization are doing great work. So I think you'll appreciate this interview. One quick note, kind of sort of like smack dab in the middle, there was just randomly some, not so great audio while Linda was talking. Unfortunately, it's just a product of, sometimes doing interviews through the internet and what have you. You can still understand what she's saying, but, the audio just isn't up to snuff, like we normally have. Just one of those things that happens, but it's just kind of in the middle. You'll know when it happens. But otherwise, it clears up and, everything sounds great on her end. So just a quick note and apologies for that. It's just one of those things that happens sometimes. But you still get the gist of what's happening, and it clears up for the remainder of the interview. So with that out of the way, please enjoy this interview, and I will be talking to you afterwards. And as promised, joining me now is returning guest Linda Walder. Happy to have her here. Now, we talked about something different last time, so this is a whole new interview, whole new topic. I'm excited to learn more. Linda, thanks so much for joining us here today.
I'm thrilled to join you, and wearing a different hat, as you said, but a hat that I have worn for about 25 years. So it's good to share it with everybody.
Yeah, what we'll be talking about today is the Daniel Jordan Fiddle Foundation, the nation's first not-for-profit organization to exclusively focus on adult autism. So I'm very interested to learn more about this. So I guess we'll start from the beginning. When and why did you create this foundation for adult autism?
Yes, thank you. So my son, whose name was Danny Fiddle, he passed on when he was 9 years old from a co-condition, not autism, but another condition that he had. And during his lifetime, I was very involved as a parent in his schooling. He was diagnosed with autism at age 3. And we're going back now, over 25 years ago. So in those times, I mean, children were not diagnosed as early as they are now. And of course, the earlier the better, because interventions can begin as soon as possible. However, 3 years old, still very young. And so during his lifetime, I was pretty sure as a parent that he would have the educational supports and other support systems in place as we do have in this country for all children and children with special challenges. But I was always in the back of my mind concerned what was going to happen to him when he attained adulthood. And after he passed on, people were saying, Linda, you were such an active parent involved in the schools, and we even helped found a school in New York. And they said you should do something. And of course, it took me a while to get my grip on life again. But eventually, a board was put together of really caring professionals and community leaders and family members. And I said to them, we ought to focus on adults because nobody else is. And they embraced the idea, and together we started raising money. And really, there wasn't much knowledge about adult autism at the time, nor were there many, if any, even community-based organizations. So in the beginning, I had to really go out in the community and speak with organizations or schools or support systems, even local Rotaries, to let them know that autism is a lifelong challenge, and to also ask them, would they consider, if they had a program, aging it up to adults, because obviously their constituents who were children at the time were going to become adults. And, of course, there would be changes to accommodate adult life, but they were service providers and they already knew the constituents. So that's how I started, and it was in the grassroots. We lived in New Jersey, New York metropolitan area at the time. So I started there approaching organizations, but very quickly the word got out, oh, here's an organization, a brand new organization, and they want to focus on adults. And we've been thinking about this too. So we had so many from all over the country sending in grant proposals and wanting to age up their programs. So that's how it began.
That's a really interesting story, and I appreciate you sharing it with me. And that's interesting. I mean, especially, like you said, 25-ish years ago, so much has changed, but even now, although I've seen, some programs or nonprofits or whatever it may be that, do focus on adults in some capacity, or they include them. But almost always when we look at autism, whether it's charities or programs, it's very child focused. Not that those shouldn't be available, but you're right. There's not a
Right.
ton for adults. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and the thing is that, parents, and always, as I was as a parent, in the back of their minds are always thinking, as all parents do, about the future for their children.
Mm.
And when it's not going to be a quote unquote typical future, whatever that means, right?
Yeah,
But
right.
or there's special concerns, let's put it that way. So I think that today in 2024, I think that most people are aware that autism is a lifelong challenge. And there are gratefully now other organizations that are focusing on adults, and we can discuss that as well. But we were really the groundbreaking organization. So I had to really go out and cold call and collaborate. And by the way, that was so much, and still is so much, part of the fun, because it always should be fun and with joy that we're doing things. And so it is part of this exciting and ever-changing journey that I'm on in the world of autism. And I'm completely passionate about it, as I have been since the birth of my son 34 years ago. So I feel like there's plenty that's been accomplished and a lot more to accomplish.
And in addition, or as part of, I should say, this journey, we just talked about how your foundation was the first not-for-profit org to exclusively focus on adult autism. But in addition to that, you also created the first and so far only adult autism-focused endowment funds at leading universities as well.
Yes. So the idea was, so for many years, we had been doing a lot of different things. As I said, programs in communities from California, Indiana, Ohio, everywhere in the country, even in the Carolinas. We did programs that were recreational based, job training, vocational training, housing oriented, really creative projects, all relating to adults who have autism. Because adults who have autism are people first, and they have the same desires and needs and varying interests as anybody else. So we want to touch all aspects of adult life. And we also created resources with the Epilepsy Foundation on Autism and Epilepsy. Epilepsy is a co-condition that many people who have autism have. And we did a whole thing on autism and faith, journey into community, and empowering leadership for self-advocates. So we did all of these different things. And in 2014, our board, with my recommendation, decided that, programs, and they're so important, at local programs and grassroots programs and advocacy, vital. And, I did so much and public policy in Washington, D.C., federal legislation and so forth. But truly, if we want to cement and innovate a focus on adult autism, I felt that by creating endowed funds at our great universities in perpetuity would always guarantee that the newest and best thinkers in our country would be focusing on various aspects of adult autism. So the first fund that we established in 2014 was at Yale Medical School. At the time, the head of the Yale Child Study Center, Dr. Fred Volkmar, I knew him through various things that I had done previously in the autism world. And I had convinced him that it would be great if we established an adult autism research fund at Yale Medical School, because we knew so little, and we still do know little about how people age with autism. What are the social barriers? What are the emotional barriers? And what are the co-conditions that happen as people age with autism? So that was the first fund we established. The next fund we established is at the University of Miami, where their transition and adult programs are named for the Daniel Jordan Fiddle Foundation. And there we focus on jobs, vocational training, but really something called Job Seekers, which helps individuals attain a job and get the supports they need to keep the job. And there's a whole training modules. And we just actually put together these models for all kinds of community-based programs based upon the programs we did in the grassroots. So that, let's say here in Charleston, somebody wants to do a health and wellness program for adults. The blueprint is on the website at the University of Miami Transition and Adult Programs. They can take that blueprint on how to start a health and wellness program for adults, and then they can implement it and change it, tweak it as they need in the community here or elsewhere. And then we started other endowed funds. We have one at Rutgers University focused on the family members of adults, because they are on the lifelong journey. And so there's a national resource guide that they're constantly adding to, and fellows from the Graduate School of Social work as direct care clinicians with the family members of adults. And then at Brown University, we're focusing on creativity and the arts, such a vital way of expression for people, and especially many people who have autism, because They have other kind of deficits, many in communication, but through the arts, it seems to be an avenue of expression and self-fulfillment, and we're all about that. And at Arizona State University, which is actually right now, there's a big symposium going on there at First Place, where our fellow works on public policy, especially relating to housing, because that is obviously another big issue that many parents and adult individuals of autism are concerned about. Where am I going to live? Who's going to, provide for that and support me in my adult life as my parents age? So that really, Christian, led into this new fund. Is our sixth endowed fund that we established here a few weeks ago at the Medical University of South Carolina, the College of Health Professions, and Dean Capasi was unbelievably receptive, as was the whole faculty there. And we are focusing there, and this is, again, nobody's doing this yet in the country, but that's the whole purpose of these funds too, to inspire others to do this, work for relating to adults. So the fund at MUSC is focusing on direct care service providers, and so occupational therapists are the ones who work specifically with adults who have autism and other challenges, to get them to live their best lives in the community and assist them in doing so. But the field has been chronically underpaid and undervalued. And many of us in the autism world have discussed this over the years, and it is really an area that of vital need and focus. So this new fund that we established will provide for a postdoctoral fellowship and degree in direct care service providing. And the fellow will really be focusing on what do we need to do for adults who have autism? What are the challenges? What are the needs? What are the ways that we can provide the support that individuals need to live as independently as possible in the community, with housing and jobs and social life?
That's really impressive that all this work has been done thanks to your foundation and the endowment funds involved with that. And it's really interesting too that and I didn't realize this, and that's one of the many reasons I'm glad we're talking about today, that each of the leading universities that you mentioned that you're in, they're all focusing on something different. Sometimes when it comes to nonprofits or these types of things, there's a very specific focus. Now, granted, you're focusing on adults with autism, big picture, excuse me, but there's so many, tentacles that can go off of that. And it seems each university is tackling something different. And that's really interesting. I didn't realize that, you're able to look into many different aspects at once and provide studies and resources for people. It's really impressive the amount of work you've been able to do.
Thank you, Christian. Well, it's a holistic approach, and that has always been our approach to because we want to support the whole person and their whole. And so, as individuals, of course, the needs are diverse, the interests are diverse, but people want to live in the community. They want to work in the community and contribute as they can to community life. They want to and live in the community. So jobs, housing, have recreational activities, and also to have community and be part of the larger community, not just an insulated community where they are with peers, but also the larger community. And we've seen even shows like that are on television, Love on the Spectrum, and all of these kinds of things, because as I mentioned in the beginning, we have to look at people as people first, and we can't view, in my opinion, people in such a conventional manner. I just wrote a piece about that. I have a blog that's called Autism for a Lifetime: Finding Joy in the Journey. And, I just wrote about how we need to take unconventional approaches to solving not only the problems that face the adult autism community, but even in the world. And there's so much need for collaboration. So I feel like we're doing it. We've definitely made great inroads, and I hope that these endowed funds will continue to lead the way and inspire and give practical and implementable ways to address all of these issues that face individuals who are adults with autism.
And this is, obviously so much going on in the present, but your eye is on the future as well, and other things that these funds and the foundation can do. What are some of those future goals, especially, here in Charleston, but also, all across the board with all these endowed funds?
Right. Well, I have noticed, because we have worked all around the country and we've even presented in Beijing and other places abroad, but it's very splintered and not consistent in terms of what is available state by state, city by city, for adults who have autism. So, one of the future goals with all of these funds is to create opportunities where they don't exist, and also to share this information about these funds, which you can find on our website under endowed funds, and then you can click on each fund and stay updated. And I try to also post on our foundation LinkedIn and in other manners what's going on. But I feel like here in Charleston, to get micro about it, we are seeing the beginning of more things here for families and individuals who have adult children with autism. So, for instance, in Myrtle Beach, outside of Myrtle Beach, there's a new housing development called Oak Tree Farm that my friend Sarah Pope has developed through SOS Care. So this is a great residential community, and people are working and they're living independently. And she has great plans to expand Oak Tree Farm. And there's going to be some things here in Charleston relating to housing coming up. Nothing concrete to offer yet, but just so your listeners know that people are thinking about this. And this fund that we created, I hope, snowballs and interest and support for this work of getting the support systems in place so adults can live and work in the community. And by the way, this fund at MUSC College of Health Professions, and it's got that long name, the Daniel Jordan Fiddle Foundation Adult Autism Postdoctoral Fund, but you can just find it, on our website. But people can also donate directly to the fund and support it. Whether you're, most people do have a friend or a family member on the autism spectrum, but, even not just anybody, please support that fund and other funds so that we can grow support and opportunities for all adults in communities everywhere. I think that's so important. And also, if you are a business owner, if you are a real estate developer, whatever you're doing in your life, you can collaborate with the autism community. So let's say real estate developers, we want them to collaborate to help develop housing for adults who have autism and other neurodiverse challenges. Business owners, adult individuals of autism are great employees. They are so dedicated. And I mean, we joke with them, oh, you never want to take a vacation. They love the routine. So they never want a day off. And they're very diligent and good workers. So we want to open the door for employment for individuals. And then in social activities in our community, in our churches, in our community centers, let's be open to having people of all different neurodiverse challenges join in and be a welcoming community. And quite frankly, Christian, it starts at school age, where we show our children that everybody is different and we value everybody for who they are.
Absolutely. And I think you've done a great job of giving an overview of this foundation, the funds, what it's used for, the future. But is there anything we haven't talked about that you would, like to get out there as well?
Well, for our great Charleston community, we waited, a bit of time because I wanted to see how we can be the most impactful with the great university, MUSC College of Health Professions. And I feel like the community, if you could in any way get behind this new fund, you just get behind the Daniel Jordan Fiddle Foundation Fund at MUSC College of Health Professions. If you're making a holiday donation, if you're making, a support of any kind, this is such a valuable and important area that will help all individuals around the country who have autism. And by the way, our organization, the Daniel Jordan Fiddle Foundation, is completely all volunteer run. We have no salaries for anybody, including me, since our inception. And all money that we raise goes directly towards our mission. No overhead, no nothing. So if you care to and you want to support some of these other funds, you can do it directly through our foundation on our website, which is the Daniel Jordan Fiddle Foundation.org. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has out there. Please contact me.
That was going to be my next question. We've mentioned the website a lot. I wanted to make sure we got it out there, and I'll be sure to include that in the show notes so people can easily click over if they're looking for more info or want to support. Besides that website, is there anywhere else people might want to go to, or is that really the best place for them to find information and support the organization?
Yeah, I think our website is the best place to go. And again, we're somewhat on social media. We probably could do more, but even if you want to volunteer for anything at all in our community relating to adults, if we always say, well, family members and individuals come to me all the time. I speak to many during the week. But also, if you want to volunteer, I think it's really wonderful. But mostly, as all nonprofits, and again, if you donate to the College of Health Professions at MUSC to this particular fund, please note that you're donating to this fund, or any other way, and through our foundation website. I think those are the two best avenues.
Great. Thank you so much for joining me today. I learned a lot, and I'm sure my listeners have as well. You're doing some great work with the Daniel Jordan Fiddle Foundation. And again, people who are listening, go visit the link in the show notes so you can learn more and support. Linda, thank you so much for joining me again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Christian. You have a great show, and you do a great public service to everybody by sharing this information. So I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much to Linda Walder for joining me today. Such a great chat. I hope you learned a lot. I certainly did, and very impressive work that she and her volunteers are doing with the Daniel Jordan Fiddle Foundation. You can visit the link in the show notes to get more info or take that extra step and, support by donating or volunteering or whatever else they have available. I hope your week is off to a good start. If you are off, work, a lot of you don't have typical Monday to Friday gigs. You can go to holycitycenter.com/calendar to find out what is going on in town. And of course, whatever your work schedule is, you have time maybe at night to check out a concert or art exhibit or something like that. So go and see what's going on around town. Thank you to Linda for joining me. Thank you to Lindsay Marie Collins with LMC Sound System for producing this and every episode of Holy City Center Radio. And a big thank you to Tyler Boone as well. You hear his music in each and every show. I will be back with you later this week. I'm already excited to be back with you, but unfortunately I have to just wait a couple days. But until then, good night and good luck.